You thought it was just a bad feeling, a flicker, a faint unease in your spirit when she smiled too wide, clapped too hard, or asked questions that felt a little too rehearsed. But what you were feeling wasn't confusion. It was discernment. It was the quiet voice of God tugging at your soul, showing you glimpses of something deeper. And in the silence of the night, when everyone else was sleeping and the world finally stopped spinning, that's when he whispered. He gave you a dream, not one of symbols or riddles, but of undeniable knowing. You saw yourself standing in a room that felt familiar, but wrong. And behind you, a shadow moved with your name in its mouth and your destiny in its hands. You didn't turn around in the dream, you didn't need to. You knew who it was. You knew. You woke up breathless, heart pounding, and yet peaceful. Not because what you saw wasn't real, but because your spirit had finally caught up to what your soul had always known. Something wasn't right, and it wasn't the world, it wasn't your path, it wasn't you. It was her, your sister, the one who grew up in the same house, ate from the same table, called you family while praying for your failure. The dream wasn't a warning, it was a timestamp. Heaven was marking the beginning of revelation. The veil had started to tear. You tried to shake it off at first, didn't you? You told yourself it was just a dream, just fear, just old wounds playing tricks. But deep down, you knew. You felt it in her absence when you succeeded, in her silence when others celebrated you, in the way she changed the subject when your name got honor. And still, you stayed silent. Still, you gave her grace. Still, you covered her while she uncovered you behind your back. But God saw it all, and the dream. That was his way of saying, I'm about to expose what she thought no one would ever see. You were never meant to walk blind into betrayal. That dream was your first weapon, not to fight her, but to anchor yourself when the truth would finally rise. Because it is rising now. Conversations are shifting. People are watching. Heaven has sent confirmation after confirmation, and the lies that once stood tall are collapsing like dust. She thought she buried you in silence, but God was planting you in secrecy. And now, what she tried to steal, he's about to multiply. So hear me, chosen one. The dream was never random. It was divine intelligence. And now that it's begun, you don't have to chase the truth. It's coming for you, exposing her, elevating you, and fulfilling a prophecy that no jealousy could ever undo. You always blamed yourself for that feeling, that subtle tension in your chest, the need to shrink around her, to dim your own light just enough so she wouldn't squint in discomfort. You told yourself you were overthinking, that love required compromise, that family meant overlooking certain energies, but your spirit knew. Long before your mind could catch up, your soul was warning you. The unease wasn't fear, it was foresight, a divine signal wrapped in intuition. Heaven was whispering through your body what your eyes weren't ready to see. She was never celebrating you, she was studying you, watching, measuring, waiting for a moment when your joy would be vulnerable enough to interrupt. And every time you made progress, didn't she act just a little off? When God gave you a win, her voice would smile, but her energy stayed flat. Her congratulations came late, or not at all. She wasn't just distant, she was disoriented by your light, because something in her spirit couldn't comprehend how you kept rising when you weren't playing by the rules she made up in her head. She had always wanted to be the center, but God kept placing you in the frame. And so the unease began to grow, not from you, but around you. Her presence didn't feel safe, her hugs didn't feel warm, her support didn't feel real. And you tried to convince yourself that maybe it was you, maybe you were imagining it. But God doesn't lie. That unrest was holy. That discomfort was divine defense. What you couldn't explain, heaven was decoding in silence. Every prayer you whispered about confusion, every moment you held your tongue, every time you let her talk over your dreams and act like she knew better. Those were data points in God's archive. He was gathering evidence, not to punish her, but to vindicate you. Because even when you didn't understand why you felt so exposed around her, your spirit knew it was sensing a leak. Someone in your inner circle was quietly poking holes in your purpose, and now God is sealing every one of them shut. You see, chosen one, the reason you always felt uneasy was because your soul remembered what your mind forgot. She wasn't assigned to your elevation. She was assigned to test your discernment, and you passed. You loved her through the tension. You honored her through the jealousy. You remained pure even when she turned passive-aggressive. That is why God is moving now, because you didn't retaliate. You didn't expose her. You let him do it, and he's doing it. The people who thought you were being too sensitive are about to apologize. The ones who believed her words over your energy are about to see the truth for themselves, because God is lifting the curtain, and that unease you carried for years is about to be justified in front of everyone who doubted you. She noticed your light long before you even knew it was shining. You thought you were just surviving, just trying to keep your head above water, but heaven had already crowned you with favor. That glow wasn't about money or status. It was presence. It was purity. It was the quiet authority of someone handpicked by God for something larger than life. And while you were still figuring yourself out, she was already taking notes, watching your moves, measuring your rise, feeling a bitterness bloom inside her every time someone else recognized what she tried to ignore. That's the thing about jealousy. It's a silent storm. It smiles in public but plots in private. It hugs with one hand and hides a knife in the other. You mistook her small jabs for jokes, her cutting remarks for misunderstandings. But those weren't random. They were rehearsals, little rehearsals for a much bigger betrayal. Every time God opened a door for you, her applause grew a little quieter, her presence a little thinner. She couldn't stand how people were drawn to you without you asking, how your name carried weight without you scheming, how your destiny didn't need her approval to advance. She told herself she was being overlooked, but the truth was, she had been overexposed. God wasn't overlooking her. He was revealing her heart. And your light, chosen one, was just the mirror she didn't want to face. It wasn't your fault. You didn't make her envy. You didn't force her bitterness. All you did was shine as God intended. But jealousy can't breathe where love lives, so instead of leaning into your success, she leaned away. She whispered to others. She spread little seeds of suspicion. She tried to make people question the purity of your motives, the reality of your blessings, the authenticity of your glow. But here's the truth. You can't dim what heaven ignites. You can't steal what God seals. Your light isn't powered by applause or permission. It's powered by destiny. And destiny cannot be duplicated. That's why God let you see pieces of her heart in small doses, so you wouldn't be destroyed when the full truth came out. He was preparing you for this very moment. So when her jealousy finally surfaced in ways no one could deny, you wouldn't crumble. You'd stand, not bitter, not vengeful, but vindicated, because you never fought her. You never tried to compete. You simply trusted God to defend you. And He is, right now. The same people who believed her whispers are about to see your wins. The same ones who questioned your integrity are about to witness your elevation. Your light, chosen one, is no longer just a glow. It's a spotlight, and it's about to expose everything she tried to do in the dark. It started small. Comment here, a misquote there, a subtle twist of your words in rooms you weren't invited to. You had no idea she was rehearsing betrayal while you were praying for her breakthrough. You were too busy covering her in intercession to realize she was uncovering you in conversation. And that's what hurt the most. Not the sabotage itself, but the fact that it came wearing your last name. It wasn't your enemies who plotted, it was your blood, your sister. The one who claimed to protect you was the same one placing traps in your path, hoping you'd trip, hoping they'd blame you, hoping you'd never rise high enough for anyone to realize she wasn't really clapping. You thought loyalty was automatic because of history. You assumed love was unconditional because of DNA. But God allowed this wound to show you something deeper. Bloodlines don't always mean lifelines. She didn't just betray you. She tried to replace you. She whispered lies dressed as truth, mixed her pain with your praise, and tried to poison the well people drank your name from. She used access as a weapon. She knew where you were soft. She knew who believed her. And she used it all, hoping to fracture the story God wrote over your life. And still, God blocked it. The sabotage was real, but the success was louder. What she meant for harm didn't destroy you. It exposed you, in the best way. While she was working behind your back, God was working ahead of you, moving things, redirecting people, closing doors you didn't understand at the time, only to open ones she couldn't reach. That's why some people fell away. That's why some calls stopped. That's why some opportunities got delayed. It wasn't punishment, it was protection. God knew the moment the sabotage matured, He'd need your hands clean and your heart clear. And they are, because you never fought back. You let her talk, you let her twist, you let her scheme. But what she didn't know was that heaven was recording the whole thing, not out of vengeance, but for vindication. Because now it's her words that are unraveling, her alliances that are falling apart, her stories that are contradicting each other. The people who once believed her are circling back, asking questions, sensing something they can't unsee. The truth has a pulse, chosen one, and right now it's beating in your favor. Don't look back. Don't try to explain. Let it unfold. God is not just revealing her sabotage, He's using it as a stage for your next elevation. She buried the seed of your name in lies, but she forgot one thing. Seeds grow, and right now you're sprouting through the soil of every false word she ever spoke, stronger, brighter, untouchable. She thought you were vulnerable, easy to manipulate, easy to undermine. What she didn't realize is that you weren't just walking blindly through life, you were being hidden, shielded, not because you were weak, but because God was preserving something sacred. You see, when you carry a calling as rare as yours, heaven doesn't leave you unguarded. It cloaks you in what the enemy calls obscurity, but what heaven calls protection. While she was working behind closed doors to erase your presence, God was wrapping you in invisibility, not to shrink you, but to shield you. He knew her hands weren't clean enough to handle the weight of your destiny, so He let her overlook you, ignore you, underestimate you, all part of the plan. That's why you were skipped over for roles you were qualified for, why your name was left off the list, why people who knew your heart suddenly grew distant. It wasn't rejection, it was concealment. And heaven did it on purpose, because had they seen you too early, they would have tried to control you. Had she seen your full potential too soon, she would have tried to sabotage it before it even started. So God did what only He could. He covered you while exposing her. He let her stand in rooms thinking she had won. He let her manipulate narratives, thinking her schemes would take root. But what she didn't realize was this: you were never meant to fight for visibility. God was saving your reveal for the right moment. That's why some things didn't make sense until now. Why doors closed even when you were doing everything right. Why people smiled to your face but never followed through. It wasn't that your light wasn't real, it was that your season wasn't released. But now, chosen one, the season has changed. Heaven is removing the cloak. You're stepping into the rooms they said you'd never enter. And this time, no one will be able to deny what's on your life. She's watching now, watching the same version of you she tried to silence get invited into circles she campaigned to keep you out of, watching the people who once sided with her start to second-guess everything. And it's not because you're forcing anything, it's because God is lifting the veil. You were never invisible, you were reserved, and now the reservation is being honored. The table is set, the spotlight is moving, and her name isn't on the center card. Let this be your peace. While she was working overtime to block your blessings, God was stockpiling favor in silence. And now, what's being revealed was never lost, only hidden. Heaven didn't forget you. It was preparing the moment when even your enemies would have to admit you were the one all along. It didn't start as a scream. It started as a whisper, a suggestion wrapped in concern, delivered just softly enough to sound like care. But it wasn't care. It was corrosion. And what she whispered about you, she knew would ignite. Not because it was true, but because it was just believable enough to catch on fire in the mouths of people who love gossip more than God. She didn't shout your name in slander. She planted it like a seed, watered it with false humility, and then stepped back, watching it grow into a wildfire while pretending her hands were clean. The lie was calculated, strategic. She knew your reputation mattered. She knew your circle held influence. So she chose her target, your image. If she couldn't stop your destiny, she tried to contaminate the lens people saw you through. And for a while it worked. You felt the shift in the room. You noticed the strange glances, the delayed responses, the sudden absence of those who once called you family. She didn't have to be loud. The lie traveled on its own. Because when deception is dressed as sincerity, even good people can get confused. But here's what she didn't account for. Truth doesn't burn. It might be buried. It might be overlooked. It might get pushed to the background while the lie takes center stage. But truth doesn't die in the fire. It survives it. And while she was fueling her illusion, heaven was gathering oxygen for your revival. Every time someone believed her version of your story, God took note. Every false witness, every silent bystander, every shared nod of agreement, all of it was marked. Not for your revenge, but for your release. Because when the lie finishes its cycle, the only thing left standing is what was real all along. You didn't have to defend yourself, and that was your power. While she spoke, you stayed silent. While she twisted, you stood still. Not because you were weak, but because you trusted the God who sees in secret. And now that God is speaking in public, hearts are changing, minds are being stirred. People are questioning why the one she lied about keeps rising, while the one who spoke the lie keeps shrinking. Chosen one, you must understand this. Her lie was never stronger than your legacy. It echoed louder for a moment, yes, but volume doesn't equal truth. Fire spreads quickly, but so does light. And the light of your life, your consistency, your heart, your silence, it's now catching fire in a different way, not to destroy, but to rebuild. And the people who once repeated her words are now using their voices to repent, to return, and to rebuild what was broken on false ground. She lit the match, but God controls the wind. She thought no one saw her, that in the silence of her schemes, the privacy of her whispers, the shadows of her jealousy, her actions would vanish into the dark. But nothing escapes divine sight. Nothing, because while she moved in secrecy, heaven assigned surveillance, not of the earthly kind, but eternal. An angel stood beside her the entire time, unseen, unblinking, unmoved, watching her words wrap around your name like vines around a flame, hoping to choke out the light. She thought she was alone in those rooms, but she wasn't. There was always a witness, and that witness reported directly to the throne. Every betrayal was documented, every smirk when you fell, every celebration when you cried. every manipulated moment where she bent the truth and cast herself as the victim while painting you as the storm. All of it, archived. She didn't know her performance was being recorded in the spirit, that her lies weren't just damaging your reputation, they were writing a case file in heaven, a case not of punishment, but of truth. Because God doesn't strike to destroy, He reveals to restore. And now, chosen one, that angel who witnessed her darkness, is carrying scrolls into new rooms. Rooms where decisions are being made about your next level. Rooms where your name is being mentioned, not in slander, but in strategy. The angel didn't forget what she did, but more importantly, heaven didn't forget what you didn't do. You didn't retaliate, you didn't stoop to her level, you didn't trade integrity for revenge. That restraint, it was your weapon. And that weapon just unlocked a door no lie could ever keep closed. She played chess with your character, but God was playing chess with her fate. Every piece she thought she moved with precision was actually being led to expose her motives, and the moment she thought she'd won, the board flipped. Because the angel who watched her actions also watched your tears, heard your prayers, felt your ache when you asked God, "Why does she hate me when I've done nothing but love her?" And the answer was never about your value. It was always about your vibration. She couldn't stand your frequency because it reminded her of everything she refused to become. And now, the angel is speaking, not through thunder, but through alignment, through closed doors suddenly opening, through relationships that once felt distant suddenly reaching back, through divine timing that even you can't explain. The world calls it coincidence. You know better. Heaven's been keeping score. So lift your head, chosen one. The presence that watched her dishonor you is the same presence now orchestrating your vindication. You don't need to prove a thing. Your silence spoke louder than her slander ever could. And the angel who stood by as she betrayed you is now going before you, preparing a table in full view of the one who tried to take your seat. It wasn't about what you did, it was about who you were becoming. She saw the shift in you before you even had words for it, the confidence, the clarity, the quiet boldness that started to rise when you stopped shrinking yourself to make others comfortable. That scared her, not because you changed, but because you stopped needing her validation. That's when the shift began. When the loyalty she once claimed turned into competition she couldn't hide. And when people compete with you in secret, betrayal is inevitable. You weren't playing a game. You were evolving. You were outgrowing the dynamic where she was always one step ahead. And instead of growing with you, she chose to sabotage the journey. It was never about the spotlight. It was about your alignment. Your peace made her restless. Your elevation made her insecure. She couldn't handle that the one who used to ask her for advice was now being asked for wisdom by others. That the one she once comforted was now becoming a comforter. That's the part no one talks about. How some people resent your healing when they're still nursing wounds they refuse to face. She didn't betray you because you failed her. She betrayed you because you reminded her she had stopped growing. Loyalty requires self-awareness, and she didn't have it. She saw your success as her silence, your light as her shadow, your breakthrough as her breakdown. And instead of celebrating you, she collapsed under her own reflection. The betrayal wasn't born in a moment, it was built over time. Every win you received felt like a loss in her spirit, and instead of asking God for her own portion, she tried to steal yours. And yet, God let it happen. Not to break you, but to reveal her. You would have kept carrying her into every room you were called to. You would have kept giving her access to a future she wasn't praying for. So God allowed the betrayal to surface, not to destroy your heart, but to protect your calling. Because where you're going, loyalty isn't optional, it's sacred. And false alliance is too costly for what heaven is about to release over your life. So now you see it clearly. Her betrayal wasn't random. It was the fruit of an insecure heart that couldn't handle your transformation. And while she chose deception, you chose alignment. That's why your hands are still clean. That's why your peace is still intact. That's why heaven is still moving on your behalf. Because you didn't return evil for evil. You returned silence for shade, love for lies, grace for gossip. And that decision didn't go unnoticed. It was recorded in heaven. And now, it's being rewarded on earth. She chose betrayal. You chose becoming. And becoming always wins. There are some wounds that don't come from being attacked. They come from being targeted by someone you once protected. That's what made her betrayal so piercing. You weren't distant. You weren't closed off. You were vulnerable. You let her in. You prayed for her. You defended her when others had doubts. And in return, she didn't just betray you. She betrayed heaven's favor on your life. But here's what she didn't realize. When you try to sabotage someone whose covering comes from God, you don't just curse them. You curse yourself. This isn't about superstition. This is about spiritual law. What she sowed in darkness has now started returning in silence. Her name, once easy to echo in rooms, is now met with hesitation. Her voice, once influential among your circle, now trembles with exposure. She thought she could play both sides, speak against you in secret, and smile with you in public. But God doesn't play politics. He sees the unseen. He listens when no one else is in the room. And now, the very pit she dug for your reputation is the one swallowing her own. The curse wasn't a lightning strike. It was a slow unraveling. Peace evaporated. Relationships she once trusted became unstable. Plans that once worked started falling through without warning. It's not because you wished anything bad on her. You didn't. You blessed her. You released her. But when someone wages war against God's order, consequences follow whether you speak or not. And because she never repented, because she never turned, the curse began to cling, not by your hands, but by the weight of her own actions. God gave her chances. Time to tell the truth. Time to return what wasn't hers. Time to repent before exposure. But she didn't. She doubled down. She hid behind a false version of herself and waited for your downfall like it was guaranteed. What she didn't account for was the covenant over your life. The kind of covenant that says, "Touch not my anointed, do my prophets no harm." She didn't touch your body, but she touched your name. She didn't harm your hands, but she tried to harm your assignment. And that's where heaven drew the line. Now, the silence she once used against you is surrounding her. People don't listen the same. They feel the shift, even if they can't explain it. That's what happens when you tamper with a chosen one's purpose. Your downfall becomes your own decision. And while she's busy trying to hold together what her hands broke, you, chosen one, are rising untouched. Let this be your reminder. You never needed to retaliate. The curse took care of itself. What she sent out returned with interest, because betrayal has a boomerang, and God always handles what you release to Him in faith. At first, they believed her, not because they hated you, but because they couldn't imagine someone so close to you would lie like that. Her tone was convincing, her timing was strategic, and her lies were wrapped in enough truth to sound credible. You watched people pull away, quietly, awkwardly, without explanation. They didn't ask questions. They didn't give you a chance. They just shifted. And you carried the weight of that silence like it was your own fault. But what you didn't know is that heaven was waiting for them to awaken, not just to the truth about her, but to the truth about you. Because now the veil is lifting. People are starting to see what was always there. The energy doesn't lie anymore. Her story is cracking in their minds. The pieces don't fit the way they used to. They're remembering your kindness, your consistency, the way you stayed silent when you could have started a war. The way you kept showing up with integrity while she kept showing up with subtle chaos. And they're realizing they got it wrong. Not because you changed, but because the fog is finally clearing. This is the part they don't tell you about betrayal. That eventually, truth does what time alone cannot. It reveals, it stirs, it convicts. And that's what's happening now. The same people who once stood on the fence are now stepping toward the light, toward your light. Not because you begged them, not because you explained, but because God has begun a mass awakening, a divine stirring that makes them question what they once accepted without discernment. You're not asking for apologies, you're not demanding validation, but it's coming anyway. Messages are being drafted, conversations are being had. Eyes that once looked away are now holding you with reverence, not pity, respect, because even in your silence, your power spoke. Even in your pain, your peace testified. And now they see it, all of it, the lie, the loyalty you gave, and the lie she built to betray it. Some won't know how to come back. They'll stumble through their words, unsure of how to admit they chose wrong. But don't let that harden you. This moment isn't about pride, it's about restoration. What God is doing now isn't just exposing her, it's awakening them. And through that awakening, He's giving you back everything her manipulation tried to steal: relationships, trust, credibility, and honor. But this time, it won't be fragile. It won't be dependent on her silence. It will be built on the foundation of truth. So stand still, chosen one. The awakening has begun. And as they return, remember this: your vindication isn't just about you being right. It's about the world finally seeing who you've been all along. A vessel of grace, a reflection of truth, a light that couldn't be dimmed even when surrounded by shadows. You didn't clap back. You didn't expose the receipts. You didn't even correct the rumors. And to some, that looked like weakness. But in heaven's eyes, it was warfare. Sacred, strategic, supernatural warfare. Because while she used her voice to tear you down, God used your silence to lift you up. Every time you bit your tongue, heaven took notes. Every time you swallowed pain without retaliation, the angels stood still. And in that stillness, something powerful happened. God began to speak, not in thunder, not in fire, but in the soft echoes that silence carries when truth is present. You see, chosen one, silence isn't always surrender. Sometimes it's sanctuary. And God chose to meet you in that space, not to explain what was happening, but to anchor you through it. While you were grieving the loss of trust, reputation, and relationship, heaven was fortifying your character, not with applause, but with intimacy. You learned in that silence that God doesn't always fight through noise. Sometimes He wins battles in whispers, and that whisper, it carried strategy. You started sensing things you couldn't explain, seeing shifts before they happened, feeling atmospheres long before words were spoken. That wasn't paranoia, that was prophecy unfolding. God was tuning your ears to hear what others missed. You didn't need a mic, you didn't need a defense team. You had divine frequency, and that was enough. The silence didn't just protect you, it prepared you. Because now, as the truth begins to echo louder than the lies ever did, people aren't just seeing you, they're sensing God through you. They're noticing the peace in your presence, the wisdom in your pauses, the clarity in your calm. That's what happens when you let silence be your sanctuary instead of your sentence. God fills it. He speaks through it. And when He speaks, the echo changes everything. And her? She expected your silence to fade into invisibility. She thought your refusal to fight meant you had no fight left. But she didn't know who you were. She didn't know that silence isn't absence, it's authority. And now that God is speaking through you, she can't overtalk it. The same voice she tried to silence is now carrying weight in places she can't reach. So don't regret your silence, chosen one. It wasn't wasted. It was holy. It was the soil where your discernment grew. It was the chamber where God whispered your next steps. And now it's becoming your loudest testimony. You didn't win by proving her wrong. You won by letting God reveal you right. And the silence that once felt so painful has now become the sound of divine promotion. Because when God speaks through silence, even the liars have no words left. Nobody saw those nights. The ones where your pillow caught the words you were too afraid to speak out loud. The ones where your hands shook from holding in the betrayal, the confusion, the ache. You didn't post about it. You didn't vent to the crowd. You just wept, quietly, honestly, faithfully. And those tears? Heaven counted every single one, not as weakness, but as evidence. Because in the kingdom of God, your tears don't disappear. They testify. They collect like sacred offerings in the courts of heaven, becoming receipts for the restoration now headed your way. You thought you were crying alone, but you weren't. The same God who watched your silence also witnessed your sorrow. He didn't just see the pain, he honored it. And now every tear you shed is echoing back with purpose. Because tears don't lie. They don't manipulate. They don't pretend. Your sister crafted lies with her mouth, but your tears wrote truth in a language only heaven could read. And God read every line. You didn't cry because you were defeated. You cried because you were becoming, because your spirit was stretching in places your heart hadn't caught up to yet. You were releasing the weight of betrayal, disappointment, and the slow ache of being misunderstood by people who should have known better, especially her. But God let those tears fall for a reason, because while man looks at the surface, God looks at the evidence. And now the case has been built in the heavenlies, not against her, but for you. Each tear was a statement. I chose peace instead of vengeance. Each sob said, I'll still walk in love, even when it hurts. Each breakdown whispered, God, I don't understand, but I still trust you. And heaven heard it all. Now the shift has begun, not because you forced it, but because your weeping has reached its divine deadline. Psalm 56 verse 8 says, God keeps your tears in a bottle, not as decoration, but as documentation. The ones you cried in the car when no one answered your call. The ones you shed while sitting across from people who acted like nothing happened. The ones that came when you finally realized you had to let her go. Those tears weren't just grief, they were growth. And now, chosen one, the evidence is being submitted. Heaven is answering with justice, with favor, with restoration, with elevation so loud that even your tears will start to smile. The people who never saw your pain will soon see your promotion, and they'll wonder how you made it. But you'll know, the tears you cried in private were proof that your heart stayed pure when it had every reason not to. God doesn't ignore that kind of pain. He turns it into power. She didn't just envy your favor, she wanted to steal it. Not your clothes, not your voice, your calling. The way doors opened when you showed up, the way people listened when you spoke, the way heaven moved quietly in your direction even when no one clapped. It ate at her, because deep down, she knew what you carried wasn't taught. It was transferred, a divine deposit from God himself. And she thought if she could manipulate the moment, imitate the posture, echo your language, she could trick the room into believing she was the one. But calling isn't cosmetic, and purpose isn't performative. You can borrow the outfit, copy the phrases, even mimic the glow. But if heaven didn't assign it, hell will always unravel it. She tried to wear your oil, but she didn't carry your altar. She tried to stand in your place, but she didn't survive your process. What she envied was the end result, not the pain it took to get there. And that's what makes a destiny untouchable. It's been paid for in private obedience, not performance, sacrifice. You see, chosen one, she didn't just want the platform. She wanted the path without the pruning. She thought your silence meant permission. Your humility meant weakness. But what she didn't realize was that heaven's inheritance can't be stolen. You were marked from the beginning. And while she was busy trying to become you, God was accelerating you into a space where no imitation could follow. Let's be clear, this wasn't just sibling rivalry. This was spiritual identity theft. She studied your rhythm and rehearsed your mannerisms. She tried to gain access to rooms built for your feet, but she forgot that destiny isn't an open door. It's a divine fingerprint, and fingerprints can't be forged. She thought if she discredited you long enough, people would default to her. That if she tore down your name, hers would rise in its place. But you were never interchangeable. You were irreplaceable. And now she's watching as everything she tried to take is falling back into your hands, effortlessly. Because when someone tries to hijack a divine assignment, the weight of it will always expose the counterfeit. Her voice is trembling, her influence is cracking, her borrowed light is dimming, because she never carried the oil, only the illusion. Let this be your confirmation. God saw the swap attempt. He watched the performance, and he blocked it, not through scandal, through revelation. People are waking up. They're seeing what's real, what's rooted, what's radiant with authenticity, and it's you. She tried to swap destinies, but heaven doesn't do exchanges. What's yours is yours, and what was never hers is returning to its rightful owner. She never expected the truth to rise, not like this, not while she was still speaking the lie. She thought her version would become the history, that the damage she did in secret would stay buried under time and silence. But what she didn't realize is that God is not just a healer, he's an author, and he never let her hold the pen. While she was busy writing your ending in pencil, heaven was already editing her plot with permanent ink. And now, God isn't just rewriting the story, he's flipping the script in front of her face. It's happening so suddenly, so undeniably. The same rooms where she whispered your downfall are now echoing with your name, in honor, not scandal. The same people she tried to turn against you are now circling back, eyes wide, hearts changed. They see it, the difference, the deception, the divine preservation. It's like a veil lifted, and everything she tried to blur is now coming into perfect focus, not in shadows, not in rumors, in real time, and she's watching. That's the part heaven orchestrated on purpose, not for your revenge, but for your reveal. Because this moment was never about making her look small. It was about showing the world that God defends his chosen, even when they say nothing. And now, without lifting a finger, you're being vindicated by divine reversal. The same mouth that spread your shame is now speechless. The same hands that tried to take your place are now empty. Because when God flips the script, he doesn't need your help. He needs your stillness. You see, chosen one, he waited until the lie was loud enough, until the damage felt irreversible, until she was bold enough to believe she had succeeded. And then he turned it, not behind closed doors, not in private, in public. The reversal is loud, visible, inescapable. And it's not just restoring your reputation, it's revealing your anointing. People aren't just seeing you as innocent now, they're seeing you as called, elevated, set apart, not despite the betrayal, but because of it. Let this sink in. The setup was part of the script. God let her lie. He let them believe her. He let the room grow quiet, because all of it made space for this moment. The moment when your name would rise from ashes with more clarity, more strength, more proof than ever before. She tried to erase your name, but heaven re-engraved it in fire. And now, that flame is lighting every step ahead. God is flipping the script, and she has no choice but to watch. The story she tried to narrate is over. The truth is writing itself now, and you, chosen one, are stepping into the scene that was always yours. This was never a promotion, it was a confirmation. Everything that's unfolding now, the clarity, the respect, the vindication, isn't new. It's a reflection of what was always true. You were the chosen one before they believed you, before she betrayed you, before the lie spread, before the silence echoed, before the storm broke. God had already marked you, not with public applause, but with divine assignment. And no betrayal, no manipulation, no weapon formed against you could cancel what he sealed in secret. She tried to make you doubt it. She twisted moments, hijacked narratives, and made you question your worth by measuring your pain instead of your promise. But chosen one, pain doesn't disqualify you. It proves you. Your scars aren't shameful. They're sacred. They're the map of how far you've come, how much you've endured, and how real your calling has always been. You didn't need a stage to be chosen. You didn't need validation to be powerful. You didn't even need them to see you. God saw you, and that was enough. You were chosen when you stayed silent while being slandered. You were chosen when you cried and still blessed. You were chosen when your hands were shaking, but your faith stayed firm. And now that the dust is settling, people are seeing it too. Not because you proved them wrong, but because God is proving himself faithful. She tried to be you, but she never had the fire. She never carried the oil. She never walked the miles in silence, loving people who were secretly rooting for your fall. You did. You walked it. You lived it. And you never broke. That's why the weight of this season belongs to you, because while others wanted the glory, you carried the cost. And heaven doesn't forget that kind of obedience. Now you're rising, not with revenge in your heart, but with peace in your eyes. Not to show off, but to show proof. You are proof that staying true is still rewarded, that purity still wins, that integrity still holds power in a world addicted to noise, and everyone who watched from the sidelines is witnessing what God has known since the beginning. You were always the one. Let them talk, let them spin, let them watch. You don't need to defend your position. You are the position. The blessing is no longer coming. It's here, and it's resting on the shoulders of the one who endured without folding. That's you, the chosen one, the anointed one, the vessel who rose without forcing it, the soul who waited when it hurt most. She didn't make you. The betrayal didn't break you. And this moment, it's not a new story. It's just heaven pulling back the curtain and letting the world finally see what was written about you all along. She's starting to feel it now. The unraveling, the weight of her own decisions collapsing in slow motion around her reputation. And with every connection lost, every eye that no longer looks at her the same, her voice is softening. Not from conviction, but from consequence. She may offer words now, a message, a statement, a late-night confession dressed in carefully chosen phrases. But chosen one, hear this clearly. Her apology may be spoken, but that doesn't mean it's surrendered. Because when repentance is real, it doesn't beg to preserve image. It bows to restore truth. She isn't sorry for what she did to your name. She's sorry that it no longer works. The strategy failed. The mask slipped. The echo chamber collapsed. And now, in the silence of exposure, she's reaching for redemption through performance, not purification. But God isn't moved by presentation. He moves on posture, and her posture has not changed. This isn't about bitterness. This isn't about punishment. This is about legacy, because your name is being rebuilt on pillars of truth, and hers is crumbling under the weight of deception. She thought she could re-enter the narrative, revise her role, and reposition herself beside you once the fire cleared. But legacy doesn't bend to convenience. It bends to repentance. And what she's offering now isn't enough to undo what was rooted in pride. You're not cold, you're clear, you're not angry, you're awake, you've forgiven her, but you will not fold for her. Because what she tried to destroy wasn't just your moment, it was your mantle. And God will not allow the same hands that tried to steal it to now shape it. Her apology may bring her peace, but it won't rewrite the records heaven already sealed. People will ask why you don't let her back in, why you don't reconcile, why you don't pretend like it never happened. But what they don't understand is this: restoration without accountability isn't healing, it's spiritual amnesia. And you, chosen one, were never called to forget your wisdom just to prove you've forgiven. You're called to move forward, protected. Let this be your confirmation. Her apology may serve her emotions, but it cannot save her legacy. Because legacy isn't built on tears when the truth catches up. It's built on character when no one is looking. And her choices already spoke. They screamed. So yes, pray for her. Bless her from a distance. Hope she truly turns. But understand, some apologies are too late for the position they were meant to preserve. God is not cruel, He's clear. She sowed deception, you sowed grace. And now each of you are reaping accordingly. The door she once had access to is now closed, not out of anger, but alignment. Because you're no longer protecting what God has already removed. She said so much about you, against you, around you. And for a while it looked like her words were winning. They traveled fast, caught ears, poisoned hearts. Her version of your story became the one people passed around like truth. But what she forgot is this: human voices may echo for a season, but heaven's word is eternal. And now, as her narrative collapses, heaven's voice is rising, and it is final. Because when God speaks, no lie can survive the vibration. His word doesn't defend, it reveals. And in this hour, He's revealing everything: the motives, the manipulation, the misused trust. All of it is surfacing not to embarrass her, but to elevate you. Because vindication isn't about proving your side, it's about clearing heaven's path through your name. And your name, chosen one, has been cleared. You never needed to fight. You never needed to shout. Heaven fought for you. Heaven wept with you. Heaven held the receipts while you held your peace. And now that the dust has settled and her voice has gone quiet, the only thing that remains is what heaven already wrote. You were always the one. Your assignment wasn't paused, it was prepared. Your purpose wasn't delayed, it was preserved. Everything she thought she took from you, your name, your credibility, your connections, God has already restored and multiplied. And what's coming next doesn't just silence the lie, it sanctifies the journey. Because God didn't just defend you, He used the betrayal to mark you. And here's the twist: it had to happen, not because you deserved pain, but because this moment required clarity. There were people you thought would walk with you forever, but they couldn't handle your frequency. She was never your partner. She was your pruning. And God allowed the wound because He needed to close the gate behind you. Not everyone can walk into the place He's prepared. Not everyone is allowed to witness the release about to hit your life. So now, let them talk. Let them wonder how you're still rising, how you're still glowing, how you still carry peace after all the fire. The answer is simple. Heaven had the last word. Not her story, not their silence, not the temporary storm, just God, speaking over you with finality. Touch not my anointed, He said. No weapon formed shall prosper, He declared. What I bless, no one can curse. He sealed. And now, it's sealed. You made it through without bitterness. You rose without vengeance. You endured without compromise. And now the platform is yours, not for revenge, but for revelation. Let this be your truth. They saw the betrayal, but they'll remember the resurrection, because heaven has spoken, and that word will never return void.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.